Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today, the topic of our discussion is poisoning in children. The main objectives of our discussions are to review the initial assessment of the child who presents in the emergency with the possible ingestion, to describe the general management principles for such patient, and to describe likely presentations for common and for potentially fatal pediatric ingestions. Initial assessment includes look for the general appearance of the patient, whether he is sleepy, obtunded, weird, or delirious. Look for the breathing, whether the breathing is shallow, deep, or too fast or too slow. And look for the circulation of the patient by recording the BP, whether the patient is hypertensive or hypotensive. Always remember that you will have to treat the patient, not the poison, and there will be a high suspicion in your mind whenever a patient comes to you in pediatric emergency whose condition cannot be explained by any other disease process. ABC of toxicology includes you will have to secure the airway, breathing, and circulation, and then go for the drugs. Drugs includes two types of the drugs, which are the resuscitative medications if needed, and universal antidotes, which we will discuss later on with one by one. Always draw the blood for the lab investigations, which include CBC, coagulation profile, blood gases, and drug levels. Decontaminate the patient, fully expose the patient, and fully give full whole body examination. Record the vitals, pass follies, and regular monitoring, and give specific antidotes or treatment if required. Decontamination includes ocular decontamination by flushing the eyes with normal saline. For dermal decontamination, you will have to remove the contaminated clothing, brush off and irrigate the skin. Gastrointestinal decontamination includes activated charcoal. Activated charcoal may prevent or delay the absorption of some drugs and toxins, and it is almost always indicated except in few cases, which we will discuss later. Naso or orogastric lavage can be done, and bowel irrigation includes irrigation of bowel with 500 cc normal saline in children and 2000 cc normal saline in adults. If the patient comes to you within 4 to 6 hours of ingestion, it can be done orally or by nasogastric tube. Initial assessment includes, after securing the ABC of the child, the mental status of the child. You will have to record the complete GCS, vital signs, record the pupillary size, and look for the skin signs. Go for the cardiac monitoring on regular intervals. Chest and abdominal radiographs should be taken. Serum electrolytes, which is a very important investigation. Toxic screening is rarely helpful in over setups, and specific drug levels. Drug levels will be helpful in case of acetaminophen, aspirin poisoning, ethanol, carbamazepine, phenobarbital, phenytoin, digoxin, and lithium poisoning. Prevention or minimization of absorption of a toxin can be done by means of ipecac, which is no longer recommended now, and by means of gastric lavage. Gastric lavage will be helpful in case of massive ingestions, and if the patient comes within 1 hour of ingestion to the emergency. Activated charcoal ineffective in some ingestions, for example, pesticides, hydrocarbons, acids, alkalis, and alcohol. And in case of iron and lithium poisoning, the activated charcoal has no role. However, it will be helpful in most of the poisonings otherwise. The recommended dose of activated charcoal in children less than 6 years of age is 1 to 2 grams per kg, and 6 years and older, you will have to give 50 to 100 grams. Glutathione is a combination of electrolytes and polyethylene glycol, 0.5 liter per hour for small children and 2 liter per hour for adolescents and adults. Administered for 4 to 6 hours or until effluent is clear. Useful for ingestion of iron, lithium, and sustained release preparations. Now, the first case is the case of acetaminophen poisoning. Acetaminophen or paracetamol poisoning is the most common poisoning in which we have to face in pediatric emergencies, because the paracetamol or Panadol comes in a very beautiful pink bottles which attracts the children very much. And the paracetamol is most widely used pediatric analgesic on the market, most common ingestion in toddlers, preschoolers and adolescents. And normal cytochrome P450 metabolism yields small amount of free oxidants that are hepatotoxic. It will cause a glutathione depletion, and the main effect of the acetaminophen poisoning will be the hepatic failure or hepatotoxicity. It comes into the 4 stages. So stage 1 lasts for 4 to 12 hours and it includes malaise, nausea, vomiting. The stage 2 presents with asymptomatic or increasing LFTs only. In the stage 3, there will be a liver failure and elevated prothrombin time. And the stage 4, which lasts for 7 to 8 days, the resolution of liver injury will occur. Toxic dose of acetaminophen is 150 milligram per kg. 4 or toxic blood level is 150 milligram per deciliter. If after 4 hours of ingestion, the level is 150 milligram per deciliter, then it will cause a toxic level. Apply the level to the management nomogram. This is a nomogram for the pediatric diagnosis of hepatotoxicity in acetaminophen poisoning. N-acetylcysteine is a specific antidote for the paracetamol poisoning. It proven to be 100% effective when given within 8 to 6 hours of ingestion. You can give it by orally, or in case of unconscious patient, it can be given by intravascular infusion form. If you are giving orally, then load with 140 milligram per kg and then complete regime with 17 subsequent doses of 70 milligram per kg every 4 hours. Nausea and vomiting can be treated with slow NG infusion, metoclopramide, ondansetron, and N-acetylcysteine can be given by mixing with juice orally. If you have to give by means of intravascular therapy, then load with 50 milligram per kg over 4 hours and maintenance dose is 100 milligram per kg over 16 hours. The second case is you are dispatched to a home after a call by a parent whose 2 years old was found with a container of dishwasher detergent in his hand and some around the mouth. The case scenario shows the caustics injections. It comes in the form of drain cleaners, oven cleaners, automatic dishwasher detergents. If pH is less than 3 or more than 12, it will be a bad prognostic sign. You do not lavage, give activated charcoal, give cathartics, or give ipecac in these patients. Home therapy includes dilute with water or milk, and the signs and symptoms to prompt endoscopy are drooling, dysphagia, dysphonia, mouth pain, oral ulcers. Esophageal burns can occur in absence of mouth ulcers or mouth lesions. Caustics includes acids, coagulation necrosis, and stomach injury, and alkalis, they will cause liquefaction necrosis and oropharyngeal and esophageal injury. The most dangerous complication, I will repeat that, is the formation of the esophageal burns, and then the esophageal strictures will be formed. For the treatment of caustic ingestion, you can do only dilution by giving milk, water, saline, and if within 30 minutes of ingestion. The case 3, a grandma says her 18-month-old grandson is not acting right. Grandmother is concerned that child may have ingested some of her medications. Either it will be a digoxin or opiate. Examination reveals lethargic child with 1 to 2 millimeter pupils. Vital signs are heart rate 70, respiratory rate 12, BP 80 by 45, temperature is 30 degrees centigrade, and his weight is 13 kg. Pupil size was 1 to 2 millimeter, which shows meiosis. Heart rate was 70, which shows bradycardia, and respiratory rate is 12, which shows bradypnea. All these of 3 signs shows opioid poisoning. And naloxone may work to reverse the respiratory depression. Naloxone is a specific antidote in case of opioid ingestion. case, a 3 years old boy who drank from a bottle containing petrol cried immediately, gagged and coughed and then vomited. Alert and crying, heart rate 122, respiratory rate 24, BP 90/60. The answer is hydrocarbons ingestion. Hydrocarbons comes in the form of degreasers, solvents, fuels, pesticides, and additives in household cleaners and polishes. Low surface tension allows for rapid movement through the pulmonary system. The toxic effect include pulmonary toxic effect includes a chemical pneumonitis. In the cardiovascular system, they can cause dysarrhythmias, and in systemic complications may include coma, seizures. You will have to monitor the patient for these complications. The management issues includes admit all the symptomatic patients and obtain arterial blood gases, ECG, and chest X-ray. Absence of symptoms for 4 to 6 hours after ingestion makes chemical pneumonia unlikely. There is no role of ipecac, steroids, or prophylactic antibiotics in case of hydrocarbons ingestions. You will have to monitor the child by admitting him in the pediatric ward, and if patient remains stable with and he doesn't develop any pulmonary, cardiac, or systemic complications, then he or she can be sent home safely without any drug or treatment. 5 years old girl was at school when she developed, after taking some tablets, nausea, vomiting, and bloody diarrhea. Patient reports that she ate some of her mother's prenatal vitamins at breakfast. The bottle had contained 30 pills of ferrous sulfate and is now empty. The answer is iron poisoning. The toxic exposure of iron is based on the elemental iron load. Most children's preparations contain less iron than adult preparations. Children preparations contain 3 to 25 milligram elemental iron per pill, and adult preparations contain 37 to 65 milligram of elemental iron per pill. The toxic dose of iron is 40 to 69 milligram per kg elemental iron, and the lethal dose is 180 milligram per kg of elemental iron. Again, the iron poisoning presents in 4 stages. The first stage of calls the gastrointestinal stage. It lasts for up to 6 hours. Patient presents with nausea, vomiting, and bloody diarrhea. Then comes the stage of relative stability for the next 6 to 24 hours with apparent clinical improvement. And then comes the stage of shock, which lasts for the next 12 to 48 hours. And in this stage, patient presents with coma, shock, seizures, and coagulopathy. Hepatotoxic stage lasts for will come within 48 hours, and GI scarring can result in within 4 to 6 weeks. GI symptoms are the result of direct corrosive effects, and fluid losses from GI injury can lead to hypovolemia. Abdominal x-rays may be helpful in case of iron poisoning because iron tablets are radio opaque and they can be seen impacted in the intestines. Management includes whole bowel irrigation with 500 cc per hour in children and 1 to 2 liters per hour normal saline in adults. Effluent should be equal to the influent. Deferoxamine is a chelating agent. The indications for giving the deferoxamine are if the serum iron level more than 500 microgram per deciliter, if there is a significant clinical toxicity, and there are persistent X-ray findings despite GI decontamination. The next case. A 6-year-old boy who was playing outside and returned to his house with respiratory distress. You arrive on the scene and you note him to be lethargic, diaphoretic, and in moderate respiratory distress. Physical examination reveals rales and wheezing in all lung fields with copious oral secretions. The patient is lethargic with 1 millimeter pupils. Vital signs are heart rate 50, respiratory rate 70, BP 90 by palpatory method. Temperature is 37.8 degrees centigrade and his weight is 25 kg. The answer is cholinergic or organophosphate poisoning. The organophosphate poisoning, the patient usually presents with diarrhea, urination, meiosis, bradycardia, bronchosecretions, emesis, lacrimation, and salivation, um, and in the pediatric emergencies. The cholinergic agents in organophosphates can cause inhibition of acetylcholinesterase. Now the management. The first step in the management is to remove the contaminated clothing and do the skin decontamination. The drug treatment includes the atropine, which is a anticholinergic drug. It dries secretions, decreases bronchoconstriction, and increases heart rate. The large doses 0.5 to 10 milligram IV may be needed. Pralidoxime. Pralidoxime is a drug which regenerates acetylcholinesterase. 20 to 50 milligram per kg per dose IM or IV can be used. A 3-year-old has fever, progressive sleepiness, and respiratory distress 2 hours after some unknown tablets. Patient noted to be lethargic and tachypneic with adequate circulation. Patient responds to mother's voice and there are no focal findings on neurological examination. Vital signs of the patient shows heart rate 140, respiratory rate 60, and deep breathing, BP 90/70, temperature 40 degrees centigrade, and the weight of the child is 12 kg. These are the ABGs of such patient, which shows a pH of 7.25. The carbon dioxide of the child is 25 and bicarb level is 10. Always remember that in ABGs, metabolic acidosis with respiratory alkalosis shows salicylate toxicity until proven otherwise. Salicylates will cause the respiratory alkalosis, increased temperature, heart rate, and respiratory rate. They alters the platelet functions and bleeding time. Patient may develop cerebral edema secondary to vasoactive effects and tinnitus. Salicylates more common in the home, again with use of cardioprotectant. Elder people more at the homes use aspirin in the form of for the as a cardioprotective agent. Um, Respiratory alkalosis gives way to metabolic acidosis. Again, the clinical manifestation of salicylate poisoning will be vomiting, hyperapnea, tinnitus, and lethargy. Severe intoxication can cause coma, seizures, hypoglycemia, hyperthermia, and pulmonary edema, and death can occur from the cardiovascular collapse. The toxic dose of salicylates is over 150 milligram per kg, and done nomogram only useful in acute toxicity. Now, how will you management the salicylate? How will you manage the salicylate toxicity? Urinary alkalinization with sodium bicarbonate to maintain urine pH more than 7 is the main stay of treatment. It will keep the salicylic acid in urinary tubules and then help in the excretion from the body. Hemodialysis is very effective for drug removal and to control acid-base imbalance. The indications for hemodialysis are acute ingestion of more than 100 milligram per deciliter, chronic ingestions more than 60 milligram per deciliter, persistent rise in salicylic acid level, renal insufficiency, refractory metabolic acidosis, and altered mental status. Now, to summarize today's discussion, you will have to remember that most pediatric injections are not life-threatening. Recognition of toxidromes and knowledge of available antidotes may assist in the initial management of the poisoned patient. But supportive measures are more likely to be life-saving. Life-saving, again, I will repeat that you will have to treat the patient, not the poison. Some specific antidotes are in opioid poisoning, naloxone will be helpful, acetaminophen for poisoning, and N-acetylcysteine is the specific antidote for iron, deferoxamine, digoxin. Poisoning can be controlled by fab fragments, and in case of organophosphate poisoning, atropine and pralidoxime may be helpful. Prevention is better than cure. Children act fast, so do poisons. Keep the poisons locked and always give the medication to the child under supervision of some adult or by under supervision of direct supervision of parents. Thank you for listening.